The blue-green planet of Zephyr Prime had never known war. For 300 years, the gentle Zephyrian people had lived in peace among their crystal cities and floating gardens. They were tall, graceful beings, with 4 slender arms, and skin that shimmered like moonlight on water. Violence was so foreign to their nature that they had no words for many human concepts of warfare. Ambassador Valthera stood in the High Council chamber, watching the massive viewing screen with growing horror. Red dots marked the destroyed worlds. Across their territory, each dot had once been home to billions of her people. Now they were nothing but cooling rocks floating in space. "The third system has fallen," reported Communications Officer Zelkin, his voice shaking. A Krolix horde destroyed everything. The orbital cities, the agricultural platforms, even the evacuation ships trying to escape. Valthera's forehands trembled as she gripped the control panel. The Krolix were like nothing the civilized galaxy had ever seen. They were massive insect-like creatures, each one standing twice the height of a Zephyrian. Their bodies were covered in natural armor. That could stop most energy weapons. But worse than their physical power was their cruelty. They did not simply conquer worlds. They destroyed everything beautiful and killed everyone they found. "How long until they reach our home system?" Valthera asked. 3 days, maybe 4 if we are lucky," Zelkin replied. "Our defense fleet tried to slow them down, but..." He could not finish the sentence. Everyone in the chamber knew what had happened. The Zephyrian Defense Fleet had been built for patrol duty and rescue operations, not real combat. Their ships were works of art, designed to be beautiful as well as functional. When they faced the Krolix war vessels, it had been like sending butterflies to fight dragons. "Send another message to the Galactic Council," Valthera ordered. "Tell them we need military assistance immediately." The response came back within hours. The Council expressed their deep concern and sympathy, but no help would come. The Altarian Republic said their ships were too valuable to risk in combat. The Centauri Union claimed they needed all their forces to defend their own borders. Andromedon Federation offered to accept refugees, but only after the Krolix had finished their conquest. As the hours passed, more desperate messages went out. The proud Zephyrians begged every spacefaring species they knew. They offered their most advanced technology, their accumulated wealth, even their independence. Nothing worked. The civilized species of the galaxy had grown soft during the long peace. None of them wanted to face an enemy as savage as the Krolix. On the second day, long-range sensors detected the Krolix advance fleet entering their system. The massive ships looked like flying weapons, all sharp edges and armor plating. They moved in a formation that reminded Valthara of hungry predators surrounding wounded prey. "They are not even trying to communicate," observed Defense Coordinator Morden. "Every other species we have met wanted to talk first, to negotiate, or make demands. The Krolix just attack." Valthara nodded sadly. The few survivors from the conquered worlds had told horrible stories. The Krolix did not want territory, or resources, or slaves. They simply wanted to destroy everything that was not like them. They saw beauty as weakness, and kindness as invitation for attack. The first Krolix ships reached the outer planets within 12 hours. The automated mining stations were destroyed without warning. The research outposts went silent, one by one. By nightfall, the enemy fleet was approaching the main planet in desperation. Valthera authorized something that went against every tradition of Zephyrian diplomacy. Instead of sending carefully worded formal requests through proper channels, she ordered a general broadcast on all frequencies. The message would reach every corner of the galaxy, including regions where primitive and possibly dangerous species might live. "This is Ambassador Valthara of the Zephyrian Confederation." She spoke into the communication array. "We are under attack by the Krolix horde. 3 of our star systems have been destroyed. Billions of our people are dead. We have asked the civilized species for help, but none will come. Our orbital defenses are failing. We have perhaps 1 day before our world falls." She paused, thinking of her children sleeping in the capital city below. "I am breaking all diplomatic protocols to send this message. We will accept aid from any species, no matter how primitive or advanced. We offer everything we have, our technology, our knowledge, our friendship. Please, if there are any warriors out there who fight to protect the innocent, we need you now." The transmission ended, and the council chamber fell silent. Broadcasting 2 unknown species was dangerous. There was no telling what kind of attention it might attract. But with Krallic ships already in orbit and their weapons charging for bombardment, what choice did they have? As the night wore on, a few responses trickled in. Most were the same polite refusals they had received before. Some species had never heard of the Krallics and did not understand the danger. Others simply did not care about the fate of strangers. But then, just as the first Krallic bombardment ships began moving toward the planet, something different appeared on the communication board. It was a short message from somewhere far out on the galactic rim, from a region that most star maps marked as unexplored space. The message was simple: "Help is coming." Terran Defense Coalition. Admiral Lee Jun walked through the underground command center buried deep beneath the mountains outside. The walls were thick metal and concrete, built to survive anything that might fall from the sky. Earth had learned long ago that space was full of dangers, and only the prepared survived. The control room buzzed with activity as dozens of technicians monitored signals from across the galaxy. Earth had been listening to alien communications for 50 years, but they had never announced their presence. The decision to stay hidden had saved humanity from getting involved in galactic politics and wars that were not their concern. "Sir, we are still receiving the distress signal from the Zephyrian system," reported Lieutenant Park Dana, looking up from her console. "The translation computers have been working on their language for 6 hours now. We can understand most of it."
Right.
June studied the data on his screen. The Zephyrians seemed like peaceful people, much like humans might have been if Earth had been a gentler world. But Earth was not gentle. It was a planet that tried to kill everything living on it through earthquakes, storms, diseases, and predators. Humanity had survived by becoming tougher than anything their world could throw at them. "What do we know about these Krallics?" Lee Jun asked. Captain Kim Tae stepped forward with a datapad. He was a veteran of the asteroid wars, where human colonies had fought each other for mining rights. His face bore scars from battles in the vacuum of space. "From what we can tell, they are a warrior species. They destroy everything they find and kill everyone who cannot fight back. They have conquered 12 systems in the past 2 years." Lee Jun nodded. Humanity knew about warrior species. Earth had produced plenty of them throughout history. The difference was that humans had learned to channel their fighting instincts to protect the weak, not prey upon them. "Say no one will help them," Park Dana added. "All the civilized species have refused to send military aid. They claim their forces are too valuable to risk." This made Lee Jun angry, though he did not show it on his face. In human history, the strongest had a duty to protect those who could not protect themselves. Any society that abandoned this principle was not truly civilized, no matter how advanced their technology, called out communications officer Young Min from across the room. "We are receiving new transmissions. The Krallics have entered the Zephyrian home system. The bombardment will begin within hours." Lee Jun closed his eyes for a moment. Earth had stayed hidden for good reasons. Revealing themselves would bring attention from species that might see humanity as a threat. The galaxy was full of empires that did not tolerate competition. But watching innocent people die while doing nothing went against everything humans believed in. "Get me a secure line to the Security Council," Lee Jun ordered. The emergency meeting took place in a bunker beneath Geneva. The 5 members of the Earth Security Council appeared on holographic displays, their faces grim as they discussed humanity's first contact with galactic civilization. "The risks are enormous," warned Council Member Chen Li. "Reveal ourselves. Every empire in the galaxy will want to know what we are capable of. Some may see us as allies, but others will see us as threats to eliminate. And if we do nothing," replied Council Member Sarah Webb, "we become the kind of species that watches genocide and calls it someone else's problem. Is that who we want to be?" The debate continued for an hour while the Zephyrian system grew closer to destruction. Finally, Lee Jun was given authorization to respond to the distress call. But Earth would not reveal its location or the full extent of its capabilities. They would send help, but they would remain mysterious. Back in the Seoul Command Center, Lee Jun began issuing orders. Contact Admiral Park High with the Second Fleet. Tell her to prepare for immediate departure. Captain Kim Tae, I want your battle group ready to move within 4 hours. What should we tell the Zephyrians? Asked Perk Dana. Lee Jun thought for a moment. The message had to be carefully worded. It needed to give hope without revealing too much about humanity's true strength. Send this message, he said. Help is coming. Terran Defense Coalition, Deathworld Division. The term Deathworld was one. Humans had learned from intercepted alien communications. Other species used it to describe planets that were too dangerous for intelligent life to evolve. Earth was classified as a Class 12 Deathworld, meaning it was almost impossibly hostile to life. Most aliens believed that nothing could survive on such a world, let alone develop technology and space travel. As the message was transmitted across space toward the dying Zephyrian system, alarms began sounding throughout Earth's military bases. Ships that had been built to fight in the hostile environment of space began powering up their engines. Marines who had trained in Earth's harshest environments checked their weapons and armor. Within 6 hours, a fleet of human warships was moving toward the edge of the solar system. Their destination was a star system they had never seen, to help people they had never met, because it was the right thing to do. The ships were ugly by galactic standards, built for function rather than beauty. They looked like they expected to be shot at because they did. As the fleet entered hyperspace, Lee Jun wondered what they would find when they arrived. He hoped they would not be too late to save the Zephyrians. But even if they were, the Kroleks would learn that some species did not tolerate bullies. High Commander Vexstar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the orbital bombardment of Zephyr Prime begin. His compound eyes reflected the light of burning cities below. The Kroleks had conquered 47 worlds, and each victory tasted sweeter than the last. The gentle Zephyrians had put up no real fight, just as expected.
Commander.
Clicked his communications officer. We are detecting new ships entering the system. Vexter turned his massive insect head toward the tactical display. Several dozen unknown vessels had dropped out of hyperspace near the system's edge. They were moving in formation toward the planet, but they were not like any ships he had seen before. What species are they? Vexstar demanded. Unknown, sir. The ship designs are not in our database. They appear to be primitive. Vexstar studied the approaching vessels with interest. Unlike the flowing artistic ships built by civilized species, these craft looked like flying weapons. They were angular blocks of metal covered in armor plating and gun turrets. They had none of the elegant curves or decorative elements that marked advanced technology. Instead, they looked like they had been built by someone who expected to be attacked. Pathetic mammals. Vexter clicked to his subordinates. Look how crude their ships are. It must be from some backward world that just discovered space travel. On the human flagship Soul's Pride, Captain Kim Tae studied the Kroleks formation. Through his tactical display, the enemy ships were massive, at least twice the size of human vessels. They moved in a simple pattern that showed confidence but little tactical thinking, like bullies who had never faced real opposition. Reported Sergeant Cho Min from the communications station. We are receiving a transmission from the lead Kroleks vessel. Put it on screen, Kim Tae ordered. The image that appeared was terrifying by most standards. Vexstar stood nearly 3 meters tall, his body covered in natural armor that looked like black metal. His 4 arms ended in claws that could tear through steel. His mandibles clicked as he spoke, and his compound eyes showed no emotion that humans could recognize. Primitive creatures, Vexter's voice came through the translation system. You have entered Kroleks territory. Your ships will surrender immediately, or we will destroy you, along with these pathetic plant eaters. Kim Tae's response was calm and controlled. This is Captain Kim Tae of the Terran Defense Coalition. You are attacking innocent people. Withdraw from Zephyrian space immediately, or we will force you to leave. The Kroleks commander's laughter sounded like breaking glass. Force us? You amuse me, mammal. Do you know what we are? We are Kroleks. We have conquered 47 worlds. We know only victory. Then you have never met humans, Kimte replied. Vexstar's mandibles clicked with what might have been amusement. Humans. What kind of name is that? You another weak species that thinks words can stop warriors? Instead of answering, Vexstar activated a special transmission. The screen filled with images from the Kralex prison ships. Captured Zephyrians were being tortured and killed for entertainment. Their screams echoed across all communication frequencies. This was the Kralex way of showing new enemies what awaited them. On the human ships, the crew watched in horrified silence. Many had seen combat before, but this casual cruelty was something different. The Kralex were not just warriors, they were monsters who enjoyed causing pain. Kimte's expression never changed, but his knuckles turned white as he gripped his command chair. Around the bridge, his crew checked their weapons with deadly efficiency. These were Korean Marines who had fought through the Asteroid Wars and the Titan Rebellion. They had seen plenty of violence, but never anything like this. All ships, Kimte spoke into his communicator, his voice still calm. Prepare for immediate combat operations. These are not warriors. They are animals that need to be put down. Captain, asked Lieutenant Park Soo from the weapons station. What are our rules of engagement? Kimte thought of the screaming Zephyrians on the transmission. No prisoners. No mercy. Show them what a Deathworld breeds. The order was passed throughout the human fleet. On each ship, crews who had grown up on the most dangerous planet in the galaxy prepared for battle. They had trained in environments that would kill most alien species. They had fought each other in wars that had lasted for decades. Now they would show the galaxy what happened when Earth went to war. Vexstar watched the human ships begin to move. Their formation was strange. Not the elegant patterns used by civilized species. Instead, they moved like a pack of predators, each ship covering the others while maintaining perfect coordination. They are trying to confuse our targeting systems, observed his tactical officer. It will not work, Vexstar clicked confidently. Charge all weapons. We'll destroy them quickly and return to our entertainment. But as the distance between the fleets closed, something unexpected happened. The human ships did not slow down or try to maintain safe distances. Instead, they accelerated directly toward the Kralex formation. Several smaller vessels broke away from the main group and began moving at impossible speeds toward the Kralex flagship. What are they doing? Demanded Vexstar. His tactical officer stared at the display in confusion. Sir, it appears they are planning to ram us. But that is suicide. No civilized species would attempt such a tactic. Vexstar's compound eyes focused on the approaching human ships. For the first time in his long career of conquest, he felt something he had never experienced before. It was not fear exactly, but a recognition that these strange mammals might be more dangerous than they appeared. Open fire, he ordered. Kill them all. The first Kralex volley lit up space with energy beams and plasma bolts. The massive insect. Ships fired everything they had at the approaching human fleet, but something strange happened. The human ships did not try to avoid the weapon's fire like civilized species would. Instead, they flew directly through it. Lieutenant Commander Yang Su piloted her fighter through a storm of enemy fire. Her small craft shook as energy beams passed close by, but she did not change course. Behind her, 20 other human pilots followed in a weaving pattern that confused the Kralex targeting computers. Stay with me, Yang Su spoke into her radio. Remember, we are not here to dance around like pretty birds. We are here to kill these things. The human fighter formation did not look like anything the Kralex had seen before. Most space forces flew in neat, organized lines that looked good but made easy targets. The humans moved like wolves hunting together. Each pilot covered his wingman. While looking for weak spots in the enemy formation, Sergeant Major Bei Jun watched the battle from the assault shuttle. Bayhorse. His team of 30 Marines sat in powered armor that had been painted black for space operations. Each suit could keep a human alive in vacuum and had weapons built into the arms and shoulders. The Marines had trained for this kind of fighting in the asteroid fields around Mars. Listen up, Bei Jun told his team over the radio. He's bug. Things have never fought anyone like us. Expect enemies to stay far away and shoot pretty lights at each other. We are going to get up close and personal. The assault shuttle accelerated toward the Kralex flagship. The pilot, Lieutenant Kim Han, flew straight at the enemy ship without slowing down. This was a ramming attack, something so crazy that no civilized species had ever developed defenses against it. On the Kralek's flagship, Vexstar watched in disbelief as the small human craft approached his ship. "What are they doing?" he demanded. "Why do they not turn away?" His tactical officer studied the sensor readings. "That vessel is on a collision course. Surely they will change direction." No rational species would sacrifice ships in suicide attacks. Vexstar was beginning to realize that these humans might not be rational by normal standards. The assault shuttle slammed into his ship's hull and punched through the armor plating. Immediately, his damage control teams reported that armed enemies were inside the ship. Bejan led his marines through the hole in the Kralek's hull. The inside of the enemy ship was dark and hot, designed for creatures that had evolved in different conditions than humans. But humans had learned to fight in every environment their deadly planet could create. Hot, cold, underwater, and poisonous. Air, it made no difference. The first Kralek's warrior they met was 3 meters tall and covered in natural armor. It carried weapons designed to tear apart the weak species the Kraleks usually fought. But it had never faced a human marine in powered armor. Bechan's suit-mounted weapons fired explosive rounds that punched through the Kralek's armor. The alien warrior fell backward, surprise showing in its compound eyes. It had expected the small mammal to run away or beg for mercy. Instead, the human had attacked without hesitation. "Move fast," Bejan ordered his team. "These things are strong, but they fight like bullies. They've never met anyone who hits back harder." The human marines spread through the Kralek's ship like a virus. They had trained for boarding actions in the wrecked hulks of old Earth warships. Every corridor was a potential battlefield. Every room might hold enemies. They moved with the paranoid efficiency of predators who had evolved on a world where everything tried to kill them. Meanwhile, the space battle continued around them. Yang Su's fighter squadron had broken through the Kralek's formation and was attacking their ships from behind. The human pilots used tactics learned from centuries of aerial combat on Earth. They flew like hunting birds, striking fast and then disappearing before the enemy could respond. "These mammals fight strangely," reported one Kralek ship captain. To Vexstar, they do not follow normal combat procedures. They attack from impossible angles and seem to have no fear of death. Vexstar was beginning to understand that his forces were facing something completely outside their experience. The Kraleks had conquered many worlds, but they had always fought civilized species. Civilized species valued their lives and their expensive ships. They fought carefully, trying to minimize losses while achieving objectives. Humans fought like creatures that had spent millions of years, surviving on a planet that tried to kill everything on it. They used tactics that seemed insane because they had learned to fight enemies that were bigger, stronger, and more numerous than they were. Earth had taught them that sometimes the only way to win was to be more willing to die than your enemy. Was odd inside the Kralek's flagship, Beichen's team had reached the bridge level. The corridor was full of enemy warriors, but the humans did not slow down. They had learned urban combat in the ruins of cities destroyed by war. They knew how to fight in tight spaces against superior numbers. "For the Zephyrians," Beijun shouted as he led the charge. His words were picked up by the other Marines and became a battle cry that echoed through the ship. The Kralek's warriors had expected to face more weak plant eaters like the Zephyrians. Instead, they found themselves fighting creatures that seemed to enjoy combat as much as they did. But the humans fought with a purpose beyond conquest. They fought to protect people they had never met, because it was the right thing to do. This confused the Kraleks more than any weapon could have. The tide of battle turned when more human ships began arriving from hyperspace. But these were not military vessels like the first wave. Captain Park Hai watched from the bridge of her converted freighter Iron Wave as civilian ships dropped out of hyperspace around her. Mining vessels, cargo haulers, even tourist ships had been hastily fitted, with weapons and crewed by volunteers. "This is crazy," muttered her co-pilot, Engineer Choi Bin. "We were hauling steel or to Mars 3 days ago. Now we are fighting aliens in deep space." Park Hai smiled grimly as she watched her ship's mining lasers charge up. The massive industrial Tools had been designed to cut through asteroids, but they would work just as well on Krallick's armor. My grandfather fought in the Korean War with whatever weapons he could find. Today, we fight with whatever ships we have. The converted civilian fleet spread out around the Krallick's formation like a swarm of angry bees. Each ship was different, carrying whatever weapons their crews had been able to install. Some had military-grade weapons bought from arms dealers. Others had improvised systems built from mining equipment and construction tools. On the Krallick's flagship, High Commander, Vextar watched his tactical display with growing confusion. The human fleet was not following any military doctrine he understood. Military ships were mixed with civilian vessels in a chaotic formation that should have been easy to destroy. But somehow, the humans were winning. Sir reported his tactical. Officer, we have lost 6 ships. The humans are using some kind of pack hunting strategy. They coordinate their attacks perfectly, but they do not seem to have a central command structure. Vextar's mandibles clicked with frustration. How can they coordinate without proper command hierarchy? It makes no sense. What the Krallick's commander did not understand was that humans had been pack hunters for millions of years. It could work together, instinctively, sharing information and adjusting tactics without needing detailed orders. Each ship captain made decisions based on what the whole fleet needed, not just their own survival. Lieutenant Seo Han flew his damaged fighter toward the Krallick's flagship. His small craft had lost main power and life support, but the engines still worked. Through his cracked helmet visor, he could see the massive enemy ship looming ahead of him. All ships. This is Seo Han, he transmitted on the emergency frequency. My fighter is done for, but I can still reach their command ship. Who wants to come with me? The response came immediately from a dozen other pilots whose ships were too damaged to continue fighting. We are with you, Han. Let us show these. Bugs how humans say goodbye. Parkai watched from her freighter as the damaged human fighters formed up for their final attack. She had seen this kind of sacrifice before in the history books. Humans who chose to die fighting rather than let evil win. It was something that made her proud to be part of the same species. All civilian ships, she broadcast, follow those. Fighters in. We will give them cover. The iron wave accelerated toward the Krallick's flagship, her mining lasers cutting through enemy fighter screens. Around her, other converted ships joined the attack. A passenger liner that had been carrying tourists to the Jupiter colonies now fired missiles from improvised launch tubes. A construction ship used its massive crane arms to grab and crush. Krallick's fighters, Vextar felt his ship shake as the human mining lasers punched through the hull. His warriors were being slaughtered by creatures that fought with a combination of advanced technology and primitive savagery. This is impossible, he clicked. They're just mammals from some backward world. Sir, his communications officer, reported, we are receiving a transmission from the damaged human fighters. They are singing. The sound that came through the speakers was unlike anything the Krallick's had ever heard. It was an ancient Korean war song, voices raised. In harmony, as the human pilots prepared to die, the words spoke of honor, sacrifice, and fighting for something greater than yourself. Seo Han's fighter was the first to hit the Krallick's flagship. His ship punched through the bridge armor in a ball of fire and twisted metal. They're damaged. Fighters followed, each one guided by a pilot who had chosen death over defeat. The coordinated impact destroyed the flagship's command. Center and killed Vextar instantly. Without their leader, the Krallick's fleet began to break apart. Some ships tried to continue fighting, but they were outnumbered and outmaneuvered by the human swarm tactics. Park. High watched as the last Krallick ship exploded in a flash of purple. Light around her, the human fleet regrouped, their ships scarred and smoking, but victorious. The celebration that followed was not the elegant ceremony of civilized species. Instead, it was a primal roar of triumph that echoed across all communication. Frequencies, Ambassador Velthera listened to the human victory cries from her rescued command ship. The sounds were rough and loud, nothing like the refined culture of galactic civilization. But they were the most beautiful sounds she had ever heard, because they meant her people would live. What kind of beings are these humans? Her aide, according to our analysis, came the reply. They come from what we classify as a Class 12 Deathworld. Most scientists believed intelligent life could not evolve on such a dangerous planet. Velthera nodded slowly. Perhaps that is exactly why they are so good at protecting others. They learned to survive on a world that tried to kill them every day. The sound of human engines filled the system, powerful and aggressive and unrefined. It was the sound of a species that had turned the galaxy's most hostile world into home, and now it was the sound of salvation.